some music that. Yeah. Okay. Alright, we're going to start soon. Quiet crowd today, huh? Alright.
Yeah, on this one too.
I just sent it to you. It's where the red dot is.
What's the exact address?
Huh?
What's the exact address?
The exact address is.
Moshe, you ready?
Yeah. Give me a look.
Okay.
19380 Northeast 26th Avenue.
Okay, right there. Right here.
Yeah,
Literally
just
right
2
here.
minutes away from me.
Thank you, Mike.
Perfect. Okay. Alright, let's get. You want to call Michael a second? Tell him we want to start. Okay. It's my second event tonight, man. I'm like, I need the head. After a long day too today. Huh? Sometimes like, how do I have the head? How do I have the head? To even think about it for very impossible.
Yeah. God.
Exactly. Okay. Let's start. Okay. Alright, we're going to start. Give us 2 minutes, we're going to start. Moshe, you want to start?
I already saw it. It's stupid.
Now it's the... Okay. Moshe, you want to start? Anything else?
Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Lighthouse Project. I want to go over tonight's generous sponsors. Anonymous for the Parnassa of Shlomo Zalman ben Rivka and Health and Happiness for Itzhak Dov, Rachel Yakira, and Eitan Lior, B'nai Talia Sarah, and for the special 10th birthday of Matan Kalev ben Talia Sarah. Thank you very much. Anonymous, in honor of Mira Rachel, Moshe Itzchak Yehuda Lev, B'nai Shoshana Bat Sheva, and Shoshana Bat Sheva Bat Liba. Ahuva and Perry Dubinsky for the refuah of Blima Bat Bracha and the shidduch of Shoshana Bat Yoraizel in honor of Gedalia and in memory of my mom. Thank you very much for her first yortzeit. Tavora Fega Bat Shmuel. Abraham Tischler for the refuah of Mazel Tov Matilda and Clara Esther B'nai Mazel Tov. Abraham Shlomi ben Linda Dina to bring the derech Hashem and in honor of Tehila Hadassah Bat Ilana and for all Klal Yisrael to be safe and see Mashiach, mercy and love.
Amen.
And the classes are finally sponsored from the Lighthouse Project in honor of Devorah Fega Bat Shmuel and Menachem Mendel ben Achanan. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, today's class we're going to do the 40-day no complaining challenge. It sounds ridiculous, right? It sounds ridiculous. How could I not complain for 40 days? It sounds like that's the world we're in today. It sounds so ridiculous, but like we said before, we're programming our minds so we complain less. The less we complain, the more we open up in heaven. Thank God, since I've taken this challenge, I took this challenge right before Hanukkah, and there was a specific rabbi that said, if you don't complain for 40 days, you're going to see miracles. So what happened, and I literally worked really hard not to complain. I didn't send my family away. They kept them here. And I really worked on non-complaining and being very careful with complaining, and I really saw miracles beyond miracles, more than I've seen before. And I recognize this because you have to be very mindful of every time you're complaining. You have to recognize why we complain, and we have to recognize that our whole purpose in this world is to crown our Creator, not to crown our heads. The more we're dissatisfied with this world, the more the less attraction of blessings we can receive. That's how it works. You're always attracting something to you at all times. This is how energy works. Energy is either working for you or energy is working against you. Either you're gaining energy or you're not. So it's always happening. Either you're attracting blessing or you're pushing away blessing. It doesn't really stay still. So if we start recognizing this, and it's like, I give you a good example, if you eat very well, and next thing you eat something really bad, it really affects you. like it really, really affects you. But if you don't ever eat well, then whatever you eat doesn't make a difference. Your stomach doesn't know what's good or bad. So some people have become in such a habit of complaining that they don't even recognize what is good. And that's exactly what we want to little by little relapse less on complaining. You should get out of this is we're going to take this from literally 7 to 8 sources. We're going to take from the Garden of Gratitude, the Garden of Knowledge. We're going to take from the Zohar. We're going to take from Living in Amunah. We're going to take from Rabbi Nachman's lessons. There's literally 7 or 8 sources. On the number one issue about complaining is that the Baal Shem Tov says it basically blocks the spiritual light coming to you. That's one of the things. When a person's in sadness, it doesn't allow the spiritual light to come to you. This is what the Baal Shem Tov says. And it's a form of atheism because you're not satisfied with the way the world is going. So, like we said before, it's okay, things go wrong, etc. But the one thing we need to always recognize is we don't know everything, and maybe these things are coming as blessings. And when we label the wrong things the wrong way is when we really get stuck, because something could really be a blessing, and next thing you know, for that person, it could be a complete disaster. I just came from speaking at an event half an hour ago that there was a specific one of my followers. She had 2 miscarriages. And then from those 2 miscarriages, she started an organization for IVF. Now she had 4 kids in 3 years. And now all of a sudden she took 2 horrible miscarriages and turned it into an organization. And now she helps people with IVF problems and she raises money for people with IVF problems. So all of a sudden she took a traumatic experience of having 2 miscarriages. The next thing you know, she helps people with IVF and she had 4 kids in 3 years. I had the exact same story. My wife had 2 miscarriages. Horrible miscarriages. And out of those things came 3 beautiful babies. So you could see. And now she took that as an organization. So our real job in life is to really recycle pain. Is to take what's really, really dark in our life and recycle it and use that to fuel us into something much greater, like she did. And she's raising money for this. So she turned a very, very dark situation into a lot of light. Because she recognized how all of a sudden this is what the Creator wanted for her. And she wasn't getting there her own way. It had to come through the miscarriages. It had to come through the pain. And that's how eventually she got there. So once we start realizing and we look at the big picture, we recognize everything is good. It's our knowledge and our intellect that's labeling something bad. First we need to understand. So that's why we can't complain. Because life is happening for you, not to you. So if it's happening for you, then don't complain it's happening to you. But if you think it's happening to you, then you miss it's happening for you, and you miss the whole boat, and you get stuck in complaining. Does that make sense? It's a very, very important concept. It's happening for your benefit. That means the Creator created the world in order to bestow His kindness. But in order to bestow His kindness, He has to put you in a challenge so you're able to earn reward. Because the world is created with a person having an arousal from below, not an arousal from above. That means He can't wait for something to happen. He has to make something happen, and then something will happen above. So we really have to make the first move and make something and think greater. We really have to make the move and really try to see, get that our mindset there. And that's the hardest thing for people to do today is getting to that. So like I said, just like a good diet, if the food's good, it's okay. But it's not so much what you eat, it's what you don't eat. Same thing spiritually. It's what you're not doing. What you're doing could actually go against you is complaining. So where was we all started? Why did I start this class specifically? Because like the Kaf HaHaim says, if your person starts little by little doing these 40-day challenge, little by little, even relapsing, being aware, he's going to merit major miracles. That's what the Kaf HaHaim says. Many, many, many rabbis guarantee the person to have much more life, much more success, etc., just by not complaining. The parsha of the week is Shemot. We're about to go into the desert. One of the chronic problems with the Jews in the desert was one thing: chronic complaining. Chronic complaining. Creator's getting you out of Egypt. I don't like the lemons. I don't like the melons. Imagine you're getting out of Alcatraz. I miss the food in Alcatraz. I miss the cater in Alcatraz. Can you imagine the mindset of a person saying, now why did our sages say that this person, they were complaining? Why would you complain if your Creator's getting you out of Egypt? You're getting out of jail. That's it. You're done. Free. Because what happens is they didn't really want to get out. So sometimes what we do is we complain because we don't really want to work. It's a form of not taking responsibility. So people complain because they don't want to work. They didn't want to get out of Egypt. They'd rather be a slave and live in a slave mentality. So it was easy to complain to divert their attention. So it's very important to understand that. One of the reasons why people complain is to to not take responsibility. Because if you take responsibility, you don't complain. That's one of the issues. We're going to take this concept from the Garden of Gratitude by Rabbi Rush. Rabbi Rush is probably in Breslov teachings, Rabbi Nachman's teachings. There's nothing more simple than that. Life can be very simple. It's that we make everything complicated. So Rabbi Rush says that Israel's negative characteristics of complaining was the main factor that angered Hashem. Hashem knows the person's going through a difficult time. He knows he's going through a rough time, shalom bayit, self-esteem, etc. But it's the complaining that makes things worse. How do we get this? We get this from Adam. What did Adam do the minute he had a sin? He all of a sudden he blamed his wife. And the snake, and Chava blamed the snake. So the complaining is what actually triggers and creates a person to have an audit. Because all of a sudden, Reb Nachman says in lesson 195, that when a person asks you, hey, how's your day? Terrible. Oh, really? Let me show you what terrible is. Let me show you what terrible is. So we have to be very careful. Again, I've been there. I've suffered from a chronic complaining for 2 years. I was there. It's not like I'm coming here, living in a cloud and saying, rah, rah, rah. No, I know what it is to really, really complain a lot. And it really, for 2 years, it attracted nothing but, it was like a magnet for problems and problems and problems. I was there for 2 years, suffering bitterly. And again, nobody really had the solution for me. Everybody was telling me things would get better, just give me more money, or things would get better, read this Tehillim. But nobody told me to stop complaining. Nobody's told me to stop complaining. Nobody told me. You just tell me. Tell me what to do. I don't care. What, you want money? Fine, I'll give you money. But just tell me what to do to win. That's my mindset. What do I need to do to win? I want a better life. I want more blessing in heaven. Everybody does. What do you need to do to win? That's basically telling you a strategy. What do you need to do to win? What does he say here? When Pharaoh was taking them out of Egypt, the Jews were complaining to them and said, told Moshe Rabbeinu, may God be the judge between you and us. Imagine somebody's trying to help you and the mother's trying to help the child get recovered. May God hurt you. I mean, do you understand the mindset that they were? The lack of appreciation, the Zohar says, was the root intensification of exile for the people that overcame their ingratitude. So the actual complaining itself and the lack of appreciation is exactly why we are in our problems longer than we should be. Maybe you should be in a problem for about a month, but the problem is the complaining creates that month to be 7 months. That's why our Sage says if they would have been out of there for 40 years, but they complained so much, they got a 210-year sentence. Can you imagine? Some people could have been married. If you don't complain about the single scene. Thank you, Hashem, for the terrible single scene. But don't complain about it. The complaining is what causes ingratitude, and most important thing, you would not want to call the IRS and tell them, by the way, I need you to check my taxes, unless something's wrong with you. But you don't call the IRS and say, I want to be audited. So what happens? In a nice term, when you complain, you arouse heavenly judgment. Is this person really worthy of complaining? They open up your books and say, okay, let's see if this guy's really worthy of complaining. Oh, he's got a nice house. This is good for him. You know what? Let me take this away from him and see if he recognizes to not complain anymore. So all of a sudden, when you complain, you start arousing an audit in heaven. You start arousing an audit, and then they open up your books and say, is that complaint worthy? Is it a worthy complaint that this person should be complaining about? And if the complaint is not worthy, which most cases it's pretty not, then they give you something to really complain about. That's how it works. But if you say, like Reb Nachman says here, if they ask you, how are things? Good. Oh, it's good for this person? Let me show him something to really be happy about. That's pretty much in a simple way how it works in life. So if you're aware, you recognize, I am always attracting something to me at all times. You don't even have to be Jewish to realize this. It's the laws of nature. You're always attracting something to you, or something else. It has nothing to. It has to be simple attraction of mercy, of blessing, or God forbid the opposite. The opposite. The Sefer Divrei Chaim writes that anxiety and depression block the pipelines that bring prosperity. One opens up those by, how do you open up those? That means anxiety and worry and fear. You know what they do? It blocks the spiritual pipelines. Spiritual blessing is coming. Remember, every blessing first comes spiritual, then it becomes physical. Correct? So the physical blessings, when a person has a trust system, what happens when a person trusts, he creates mercy, and that flow of water comes to that person, or flow of shefa comes to that person, and if he creates worry and anxieties, and what he does, he interrupts that pattern. He interrupts. So that's why you have to say, let it flow. Imagine you see a waterfall. You're going to stick your hand there? Let it flow. Stop thinking about it. Let it flow. Let the blessing flow. Some people actually believe that if I get too much, it's going to, maybe I'm not worthy, let me sabotage it. Let it flow. There's no limit. The word for our Creator is infinite. There's no limits to Him. Infinite. No limits. It's the person themselves creating the limits. If you recognize God is infinite, there's no limit to His blessing. There's no limit what He could do to a person. It's more the word. The problem is we get in the way. We get in the way of the blessing. If you just let it flow, it would come to you. It's what we do to get in the way of it. If you have a beautiful picture of a Mona Lisa, you don't need to go and paint it. That's what it is. Stop touching it. That's exactly what happens. If you work on your faith and bitachon, person works on his Shabbat, that's it. That's the vehicles. You don't need anything else. It's only when we don't believe that that's enough, then we overdo it. Oh, let me worry. Let me do this. Let me do that. Because you think you need more, Hashem can give it to you very easily. It's the person's mindset that's creating this, unfortunately. So the Jews said, are there not enough deserts in Egypt? This is where you want me to leave me? He had to take them by the desert in order to rectify them. But their whole problem was one thing. Complaining, ingratitude, complaining. And he says Hashem despises ingratitude more than any other sin. Person can eat non-kosher, get this, but if he's ungrateful, it's worse than anything else. It's worse than anything else. Why? Because not only is it you're not attracting, but then people say, oh, look at that miserable person. How could he be religious? How could he keep understand? Miserable person. You created Hil Hashem. Yeah, miserable person. All he does is complain. One time I was in a restaurant. The guy took back his steak 6 times. I mean, come on. I mean, this is what you're living for? You never heard of a guy in a vegan restaurant take back the kale? He eats the kale. You never yelled, hey, you burnt my kale. You burnt this out. You just see the amount of, especially with food, and just too much complaining. And it says, Hashem despises ingratitude more than any other sin. He can't stand self-pity. Hashem's fully aware that we all have evil inclinations. He's fully aware that you have tests in your life. He knows your situation. He knows what you're going through. He knows what you're going through in your marriage. He knows everything about the person. There's nothing that's hidden. But he can't stand ingratitude. It's better to say, I'm struggling in this, than complaining, why did you give me this? Yes, I'm struggling in this, but don't complain about it. Person has a child that's taking his life from him, taking all his teenagers, taking all your energy from you. This is my struggle. This is my lack in my life that I have to come closer to you. But don't say, why did you give me this child? It ruined my life. I hear that all the time, unfortunately, people in recovery. This child is ruining my life. It's a complaint. And that's why you're not going to get a Yeshua from it. Today's exile is not because of God's anger 1,000 years ago in the desert. It's because the Creator despises this sin more than anything and completely wants you to uproot any kind of ingratitude. Period. That's what Rabbi Rush says. He wants you to completely get rid of ingratitude. How easy it is in Shalom Bayit. We already gave a class today that nobody is saved. Anytime you're married, everybody in there, no matter how much they love their families, and they want to be Switzerland. I always say, I want to be Switzerland. I want to make peace with everybody. It's not going to happen. So no matter who you are, everybody has people in their family. They have the Irans, they have the Iraqs, they have the this, they have that, they have the dictators, they have the... But no matter what you are, you have to recognize that our job is not to change people. Our job is to appreciate them. And we have to recognize that the complaining is what causes more problems than anything. Just want to give you guys enough leverage to recognize why, a simple reason why a person cannot be not married, not have a Yeshua in business, not have a happy marriage, is because of ingratitude. We said this before, that I heard from Rabbi, I forgot his name, but specifically with spouses, what do guys want to do the most? They want to score. They want to win. They want to feel appreciated. So what happens is the woman's job is to appreciate the husband. Same thing, the job of the husband is to appreciate the wife. Because people only leave a game when it's impossible to win. Right? When you see it's not, you can't win. No matter what you could do, I don't feel appreciated. So they leave. So how do you make that person feel appreciated? You compliment them. You make them feel appreciated. And once the first person feels appreciated, you know what he does more? He wants to be appreciated. He wants to score again. So he wants to win again. So you appreciate him even more and more and more. See how it works? The more you appreciate the person, the more the person wants to prove to you more how giving he is. So when your job is to lift that person, instead of saying, you're not good enough, you're complaining, you never do this for me, then the guy doesn't want to win anymore. He doesn't want to win because he feels I'm not getting appreciated. No matter what I do, nothing happens. Well, no matter what I do, I never win. So why would I even care? Why would I put the effort? But if you tell him, look how good, I appreciate what you do for me. Then, oh, why? You're happy with me? Next thing you know, he'll do something else to make you happy again. But people do the opposite. They're afraid to say, why? You do something nice for me. No, let me hold resentment. You hold resentment, he's not going to do anything for you. And he's going to say, it's impossible to win. If it's not possible to win, then how could you win? So it's so important to take people. Your job is to not tell people they're turkeys. Your job is to tell them they're princes, but they're acting like turkeys. Very different. You're a prince, but you're acting like a turkey. Become the true self of yours. Second, in this book, Garden of Knowledge, there's two types of personalities in the world. There's a guest that comes into this world and says, whatever I get in this world is a gift, and there's a personality that says, listen, the guy is cooking anyway, what's the problem? He's not doing anything for me. You know, the guy shows up to your house, he's cooking for everybody, he's not really cooking for me. I'm entitled to this food. So there's two types of personalities that we all have and we all struggle with. The one personality is the personality of Cain. Cain comes from the word kinyan, which means to acquire. It means I'm entitled to everything. The second type of personality is called Hevel. Hevel means nothingness. That anything I receive is a gift. See the difference in the personalities? The one personality says, why do I have to pray? I'm entitled to everything. Hevel says, wow, I'm not entitled to anything, so I have to pray. See the difference? The more you think you're entitled to, the less you're going to do. Because you think, why should I do it? I'm entitled to it. Everything's entitled to me. The more you recognize everything's a gift from you, the more you'll do. See how it works? Completely opposite. And we know already the disaster between Cain and Hevel. Cain brought a gift of a very poor offering. Because what do I need to do anything for God? I'm entitled to this anyway. What has he done for me lately? What has he done for me lately? Where Hevel says he brought him a beautiful offering. Because his offering was, wow, look at the beautiful, look what he gave me, look what my Creator gave me. And he brought a beautiful offering. So Cain and Hevel both represent two types of personalities in our lives. One personality is a taker. Kinyan comes from the word kinyan, acquire. I'm entitled to everything. Where Hevel represents, who am I? I'm nothing. Who am I? I'm nothing. That personality represents these two states of ours. And this is what the ego does. The ego says, I'm entitled to this. I'm entitled to this. Why shouldn't I have had this? Hevel says, I'm grateful for whatever I receive. So that's the two types. We also have to recognize, where do we come from? We come from Judaism. Judaism comes from Judah. How did Judah come out? Judah came out because Judah was the fourth son of Rachel. When Rachel had the three first children, she named them specific, Reuven, Shimon, Levi. But when she had, Leah. But when Leah received Judah, she says, I got more than I asked for. I got more than I depended. So she automatically named him after Hodah, gratitude. She got more than she expected. So what happens today is we have a big complaint board, we have a big vision board, but we don't have a gratitude board. If you want more things in your life, show the gratitude board to your Creator. He doesn't need vision boards. Show how abundantly gratitude, how much grateful you are, and then all of a sudden the other stuff comes. But when a person says, listen, here's my vision board, but no gratitude board. So what are you showing? Look what I'm missing. How are you going to attract more? You're only showing what you're not getting. So if we're going to show things in life, make sure the gratitude board is full. Then the stuff will come. But once you show only vision boards with no gratitude boards, then you're showing a lack. You're showing a lack you're not going to get. You're not going to get. So it's a big difference on why we're not getting that edge. That's the whole point of this class is to get that edge. Let's take another teaching from the Zohar. And remember, you should know that just listening to the class itself, it's basically going into your subconscious little by little, and the more we repeat something, the more it becomes part of you, the more you'll see yourself not complaining. You'll see, just listening. This is why I do these classes for myself also. Because the more I talk about it, the more I'm talking to myself. Okay, be careful not to complain, be careful not to complain, be careful not to complain. David HaMelech says in Psalms 121, God is your shadow at your right hand. You ever hear a person screaming at a shadow? It's your shadow. Just as one shadow mimics every motion one makes, so does God guide the higher worlds according to your actions. Imagine you have a shadow. What would you want your shadow to look like? The Zohar explains, if a person smiles, heaven smiles at him. If he's sad and depressed, heaven judges him with strictness. Same thing we just said about creating that opening. That's why one of the causes that are guaranteed not to create openings is envy. Envy is the worst, because not only are you not in your lane, but you're in somebody else's lane. See, that's the problem. You're not going to get what you're supposed to get, because now you're in his problem. You're in his business. So you miss out both places. You miss out because you're in his lane, and now you're not in your lane. And that's how people have 3-4 car accidents. Not in the right lane. If you were in the right lane, you wouldn't have an accident. Look what he says. Heaven judges him with strictness. And this is what David HaMelech says. David HaMelech had many trials in life. He could have complained about many things. But he specifically said, serve Hashem with gladness, because a joyful person is going to draw that blessing to him. That joyful person will always draw. He'll always draw that. So again, you can't complain if you don't like the way the life is running. The first person you got to look at the mirror. Why am I looking at the world like that? Why am I looking at the world? That's the problem of really blaming outside. It's really to work on internal. Why am I looking at the world like that? And it could be from your upbringing. It could be a habit. It could be something you just do where you don't realize it. But once you start becoming more aware, then you could say, wow, I didn't complain today. You're going to feel amazing. And you know what? The next day you're going to say, wow, I didn't complain again. And all of a sudden you're going to get in motion. And then believe me, I've caught myself so many times. My mouth is full of lips. I bit my lip maybe 10 times. Ready, it's like automatic complaints. I caught myself. Because I'm talking about this all day. I'm talking and talking and talking about this. Just like negativity. How does negativity become what it is today? So thinking about the same thing over and over and over and over and over. Just like you think about something 1,000 times. You think about something 1,000 times, it becomes a what? A belief. Correct? Same thing the other way. If you think about something 1,000 times, you become what? It becomes a belief also. But the right types of belief. This is a beautiful, 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 amazing what he says here. to understand the way God deals with us and the universe, he says here very simple. When the Jews were ready to split the Red Sea, when the sea was right in front of them, they were crying out to him. The Jews were crying out to God, and it says, it says, why? He says, they were crying out. So God says, stop crying out. Stop crying out and move. He says, stop crying. The sea's in front of you. Stop crying out and move. What is he telling you here? He's telling you here, why are you crying out to me? Speak to the children of Israel and begin to move. This is in Parsha Shemot. In effect, God was saying, it's not even up to me. It depends on them. Imagine that. It's not even up to me to split it. It depends on them. If they are going to show trust, I'll split the sea. If they're not going to show trust, I'm not going to split the sea. Sometimes it has nothing to do with your Creator. You are left with a choice where it's up to you. If their faith is strong and they march fearlessly into the sea and they have a firm belief in the sea will split, their faith will cause the arousal above to make the miracle happen. And the sea will indeed split. It really has nothing to do with sometimes our Creator. He's giving you a test and seeing, okay, I'm going to give you a test. I want to see if you're going to complain about this test. It's not even up to it's up to you to take the test and do it. So when you recognize that, you say, wow, I really have a lot. A person shouldn't walk and say, oh, I don't know what kind of day I'm going to have. That already is the wrong strategy. Your job is to make it a great day. You can't say, I don't know what today's going to bring me. It's not rain. Yeah, you might get wet if it rains, but you can't say, I don't know what today's going to bring me. Maybe it'll be good, maybe it's bad. No, you have to say, I will make it good. And specifically, Rab Natan, the main disciple from Rabbi Nachman, he gives this example very beautiful. If anybody's familiar with making music, which I am not, I don't make music. I listen to music. I'm not that handy. But what do? When you make music, you take a good string from a bad string. You take a good note. It's all about extracting when you make music. Extracting a good note from a bad note. That's what music is all about. Extracting the good from the bad. Extracting the positivity in that situation. Where it's normal to complain, I extract the good. And at the end of the day, it's up to you whether you're singing, which is your spirit, is your ruach, or you're crying. It's up to me whether I took those situations and I took the good out of those situations. That is a very Zamra concept. Just like a musician knows how to do what? He takes the good from the bad. He's an expert at taking the good from the bad. So the song at the end of the day really depends on how I view those things. And if I was able to take the good from the bad, if I was able to extract the good from the bad. Third problem with complaining is very simple. You're basically telling God, if we just take the definition about complaining, it says to express dissatisfaction or annoyance with something. That's a complaint. Imagine telling your Creator, I'm not satisfied and I'm annoyed by the way you're running the world. I don't need to tell you that you're not going to be very successful with that. Just imagine. I'm not satisfied with the way you're running the world. Not happy. So first it assumes you know everything. Second, it assumes that right away this is the way you judge. Another definition, to express feelings of pain, dissatisfaction, or resentment. How many people do not want to get closer to their Creator? Why? They have resentment towards Him. Look what you did to me 5 years ago. Look what you did to me. Look what you did to me. How could I? I ask people, you should try a gratitude journal. Many times I tell people, when they really lost, do me a favor, start a gratitude journal. Let's break the pattern. Gratitude for what? That's the problem. For what? That means that your perception's off. That means you don't recognize you're healthy. You don't recognize it would be. Come to my detox for a little bit. Come to my detox for about. I'll rent you. We'll do for about a day. You see what people go through. People lost children. People have trauma. People have major issues. People are really, really broken situations in life, and you recognize, wow, I don't really have any problems. Sometimes you go there and you say, wow, I really don't have any problems. But obviously the perspective is the way we see it. Another definition of complaining, to say something is wrong or not satisfactory. Those are the definitions of complaining. So anytime we're complaining, we're basically telling the Creator, I don't really like the way you're running the running creation. So obviously we create tremendous amount of judgment, and we're putting ourselves in a position never to win. So that's why we have to break this. We have to break this pattern that we're doing. First thing is, it's not enough to play defense in life. You have to create an offensive attack. That's what I always say. I myself, I wake up in the morning, I do his bodhidut. I have a meditation speaking to God. I meditate on how much I know nothing. I meditate on how much gratitude He's given me. I meditate on the goals that I want for the day. I meditate on my desires that I want. But I start the day on a very positive track. The days that I don't do that, I'm more likely to complain than the days that I won't do that. It's just, you can't just come to life and play defense, and you can't do that. It doesn't last. Because remember, what is really the battle today? The battle is between the conscious mind, which where gratitude is, and the subconscious mind, which where all negativity is. Where is my negative thoughts coming from? It's coming from my past. So my job is really, in the morning, the person is going to be more likely to get hit with an attack, because like we said before in the Bittul class, that at night he's trying to escape his problem. He's trying to get away from it. He's going to sleep. Sleep represents a form of a healthy escape, but you can't escape forever. So right when you wake up in the morning, you're more likely to get hit with that attack of negativity in the morning. So that's where the morning is specifically the time where you really have to go and create a tremendous morning ritual. Whether it could be exercise, whether it could be breathing, it could be gratitude, it could be his bodhidut. It has to happen. Because if I start my day on 70 degrees, okay, I'll get to 75 degrees. It won't be a big deal. But if I'm starting my day at 90 degrees, I'm at 95 in 2 seconds. Short fuse in a second. Not much will take me to piss me off. So it's more important that a good offense is the best defense. A good offense, as our sages say, it's better that you should kill the snake in the head, that if you don't kill the snake in the head, you know what's going to happen? You're going to get bit in the heel. You're going to get bit in the heel. Where does the snake bite you? Bites the heel. Your job in life is to beat the snake, to kill the snake, and smash the head. Kill the mornings. If you don't kill the mornings, you're going to get bit in the heel. That's my mind. That's the mindset that I have. Because I know we all have pressure. We all have tons of pressure. Everybody's got pressure across the board. And if we don't create a new pattern and a new mindset, you're gonna just walk into that pattern of anxiety. You'll walk into that pattern of grief. It's just gonna happen to you. But if I have the ability that I'm gonna kill the snake, just like we have somebody that we don't like, how do you kill them? With kindness. Somebody you don't like, you give them a compliment. That's it. You killed the snake. They don't know what to do if you give them a compliment. Same thing. You have to go and kill the snake. You have to go and kill the Yetzer Hara, kill the evil, kill the subconscious. How do you kill it? You repeat gratitude. No complaining today. Today I do not complain. You know why I do not complain today? Because I don't know anything anyway. So what am I going to complain about? When you have that simple approach and you repeat it, then you're in a good state. Remember, if I'm in a good state, if I feel good about myself, those days, we've all had days that we felt good about ourselves. All of a sudden, the things that happened those days did not make a difference to us. Didn't bother you that much those days. But the days that we're not in a good mindset, the days that we're not in a good state, the days that we don't have a settled mind, those days we're more likely to have an attack. So that's where the job of the person is to create that offensive attack, to create the completely kill the mornings. You're responsible for two things in your life. The mornings and the nights. Bookends. You kill the mornings, and at night, you shut off. Part of saying the Shema at night, we say the Shema at night. Shema is a prayer that we say at night before we go to sleep. Why? Because at night, the soul is getting judged upstairs, and the way it gets judged upstairs, it affects the way you wake up. Sometimes you wake up with tons of energy. Sometimes you wake up, you can't even get out of bed. How come? You could sleep sometimes for 4 hours. You have so much energy. You could sleep for 12 hours. You don't want to move out of the bed. Why? Because when you wake up in the morning, your soul gets judged. Part of the prayer that we say at night in the Shema is very simple. You say, I forgive everybody. I don't want to be the cause of anybody's harm. I don't want to have anybody, and I don't want to cause. Make sure that nobody gets hurt because of my actions. If anybody's out there that they did something wrong to me, I don't want to be the guy causing that person to get damaged. Because at night, what happens is you really want to wipe out the debt. I did something to you, forgive me. You did something to me, forgive you. Because at night, you want to be able to. You don't want to have, because at night is where all the heavenly judgment's coming from. That affects the person. Okay, this guy's going to lose 10 grand. That one's going to lose 3 grand. That one's going to do this. That one's going to have to happen. But at night, if you're the one giving mercy to that person, then it's a good chance that all of a sudden in heaven you'll get mercy. So it's really up to us. It's really up to us. That's why, it's very hard sometimes for me to deal with people sometimes because they think I'm trying to be too tough on them. But I know that they're not going to ever succeed if I help them water their weeds. If you want to call me to tell me help me water my weeds, I can't do that. The weeds do not need motivation to grow today. Let's be honest. Negativity does not need motivation to grow. It will grow, if you look at a weed, it will grow in a sidewalk, it will break a pipe, it will go through this. It does not need motivation to grow. Weeds. Negativity grows by itself at a rampant pace. But if you want to water the good, that's what Rabbi Nachman says. The hardest thing in life is to be happy. He's telling you right now. He's not telling you, listen, wear a Soul Cycle t-shirt, drink Jamba juice, and your life's going to be happy. That's not what it's all about. He's telling you life is going to be difficult for you. But your job, you can create happiness, and the hardest thing is you have to fight for happiness. Happiness will not come to you. It will not come to you. You have to go get it, which is very opposite mindset, which you hear today. I deserve to be happy. People tell you, you do have to deserve to be happy, but you have to work for it. You have to work for it, which is unlike what today is telling you. How to be, no, I have to really work. I have to forgive people to be happy. I want to be happy. I have to let go of resentment. I want to be happy. I have to change my thinking. I want to be happy. I have to accept my spouse. I have to accept what life gives me on life's terms. Then I could start accepting, and acceptance brings happiness. But the opposite is fighting reality, which would bring suffering today. So if we take David Amelech's concept, where God is your shadow, the shadow is a shadow. What do you want to say about the shadow? It's a shadow. It's going to follow you wherever you go. And it's going to mimic you whatever you do. Isn't that a powerful concept? You have a shadow right next to you. Look at the shadow. Shadow's screaming. You're screaming. The shadow's not going to be smiling. And most important, if we take the concept from the Baal Shem Tov, the number one thing that when a person is complaining, it blocks the divine light from coming to him. It doesn't allow his mind to open. It doesn't allow me to get the solution for the situation that I want. It doesn't allow me to see the good in something. That's what the toughest thing about being saddened. That's why Rabbi Nachman, there's nobody out there that spoke like Rabbi Nachman about these things. Whether it's our financial situation, sometimes you see people, like we said before, they stack issues. This is one issue, okay? Tomorrow, if you don't deal with that issue, you're going to have another issue. Then you don't deal with this issue, then you have another issue. And then another issue. And then this is how you walk around, like Rabbi Riadi says, with a lot of weight. So we're not allowed to mix, you're not allowed to commingle problems. You have one issue, talk about that only. Just deal with that issue. That's what Nachman says. You're not allowed to plow an ox and a donkey together. Wow. Why? Because if you mix an ox and a donkey together, number one, you're commingling problems. You're not going to be able to do. You're going to get overwhelmed. So if you do one thing at a time, this issue should do. Leave it in this department. If this is a financial situation, leave it in this department. Because what happens is, imagine going on a date and telling your date about this problem, and then telling them about this problem. That's it. Over. You don't think people have enough luggage in their life? They need more luggage from other people? You want to go on a date very light. You want to travel lightly. You want to make sure you feel light, because nobody wants to marry somebody with all kinds of weight. So again, one issue, leave it in a compartment. Another issue, leave it in that compartment. But do not say that my problems became my life. Because then what happens? Then I don't even know where to start. So that's one of the issues I have. This I put in this department, but I don't mix the departments. Because if I mix departments, imagine if you start mixing work with your house. Okay, now that work, now I have a work issue, then I have a marital issue, then I'm going to be in a bad mood for my kids issue, and I'm not going to be available for my... You understand how the pattern happens? Just keep things, Rav Nachman says, keep departments. Make sure you do not cross one department to the other department, because that will cause more complaining. One thing about complaining, what it does, is it triggers other things. Like you start triggering, all of a sudden, check doesn't come in the way it's supposed to. You see, nothing goes my way. See, this is the way my mazal is. And I can't even get married. How am I going to get married now? You see how it just turns into a complete pool of this. Or you made a mistake with your husband. You see, you didn't bring it. You see, you never bring everything. Remember 10 years? You didn't bring it either. Your mind works on associations. It associates one thing, and then it brings up all the other trials that you failed in. That failed, trial failed here. You see? This is the way our mind works. It doesn't just stop at one thing. You see, this is not going for me, everything else is not going for me either. It's known, that's what the Yetzer Hara does. He doesn't attack you in the front. He attracts you in the back, when you're weak. And that's what we have to fight. So may Hashem help us that we should take this 40-day challenge. Even if you relapse, start again. I would say the first 15 days of any challenge, or the first 13 days, is unbearable. Because you're going to be so addicted to complaining that you're going to want to just vent. Because a lot of people complain to vent. The next 15 days of a challenge are uncomfortable. But after you get to a good zone of 30 days, or 25, 30 days, you start becoming unstoppable. Then you recognize, wow, I really can control myself. And then you're going to see right away, when you see blessings come, B'ezrat Hashem, you're going to go all in on this no complaining thing. That's why I'm talking about it so much, because I've seen so many openings from this. Remember, it's never a lack of light. It's never, Rav Nachman says in Lesson 172, it's never a lack of light. It's a lack of a vessel. It's I'm not receiving that because I have a blockage on my vessel. Once one of the prayers we want to say is, please God, remove the blockages from me. Remove these things that are blocking me from receiving your light. That's not a complaint. Not saying, why are you not giving me any light? That's a complaint. But when I say, please remove these blockages that are not allowing me to receive the light. May Hashem help us that we should all not complain and attract tremendous wealth and tremendous blessings, etc. Amen. Let's say something.